Okay, the title of today's notes, Sectional Differences. The idea of sectionalism is placing the interest of a region over that of the nation. So now what we're going to be talking about is the sectional differences between the North and the South. They are very much going in two very different directions. And basically, even though they're, on the same continent in the same country, they are becoming two very, very different areas, two very different sections of the United States. So that's where we're going to start today, and basically this will be the theme for the majority of the class from here on out. The Industrial Revolution begins in Great Britain and then starts to trickle our way into America. What we're talking about here now is the start of the first factory system. Instead of a one-man shop in somebody's basement, you're now looking at a huge factory with 100 to 200 workers doing very specific jobs. The assembly line is going to come a little bit later. But this factory style of work versus one man either working on his farm at home, or one man who had a shop in his basement and did every task to building whatever he built to sell. This is going to change things. One of the first things that happens is Eli Whitney comes up with the idea of interchangeable parts. This means that parts could switch between two or three individual. For example, a truck hood. If you have a Toyota truck, I have a 2006 Toyota truck, that truck hood will go on any other 2006 Toyota truck hood. They're interchangeable parts. This leads to the idea of mass production, where you build a bunch of the same thing, which usually causes the price of goods to drop. Think about motorcycles. If you go buy Honda Goldwing versus a West Coast chopper, the chopper is going to cost a lot more because it is not mass produced, whereas the Honda is mass produced. The Lowell system, the first modern factory, highly organized. You guys have seen this your whole lives. How many of you have parents, family members that work in a furniture factory here in Caldwell County? That's the best example I can give you. Or you do specific jobs every day, all day. Instead of learning 20 tasks, you learn 2 tasks, and you get to be very fast at those 2 tasks. Society, the North and the South, very different, even though they're the same country. The North, because of its climate, is not a farming agrarian type of area. It is an industry area. It looks a lot like Caldwell County does, or did, with the number of factories that we used to have here in Caldwell County: Bernhardt, Brawl Hill, McCrary Modern, Kincaid, Fairfield. The North is that way. Lots of different industries, factories where people went and did a regular 8-hour-a-day job. The North is the first to start to move away from slavery. The anti-slavery movement or emancipation is going to begin in the North. The freeing of slaves, the North's economy didn't really need slavery, and they start to believe the moral wrong of it. So the emancipation movement is going to start in the North. The South, their entire economy is based on agriculture. Your plantation owner is the head of that society, and he makes up about less than 10% of the population in the South. The plantation owner is the only person in the South that did own slaves. 90% of your Southerners never owned a slave, never had a huge plantation. Most farmers in the South had a small farm, less than 100 acres. They raised enough to take care of themselves, to feed themselves, clothe themselves, and maybe a little bit extra to trade for things that they may need from somebody else. Your plantation owners and your planters and your farmers made up the majority, probably 90%, and then slaves were the bottom of the totem pole in the South. Cotton is king. Cotton is a very valuable crop, but requires a great deal of hand labor. What slowed things down when picking cotton was not growing cotton, was not picking cotton. It was taking the seed out of the cotton. This is what slowed the process down. This is all going to end when Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin. After Eli Whitney invents the cotton gin, which takes the seed out of cotton, this is a picture of one to your right here, with a crank wheel on it. After Eli Whitney creates the cotton gin, the cotton industry is going to boom in the South, because the one thing that slowed cotton down was the time that it took to pick the seed out of each cotton ball. Now this machine does it as fast as you can put it and crank it out of the machine. So cotton is going to boom in the South. It also guarantees that slavery is not going away. I know my note says was going away, but make sure you put was not going away, because now, where you might have only had 500 acres that you could plow because that's all you could get the seed out of in time, now you don't have that problem. So your farm, you're going to try to have 1,000-acre farm now. Just to show you how it does increase the capacity for cotton production. 1790, before the cotton gin, there were 3,000 bales of cotton a year shipped out of the South. In 1810, 10 years after the cotton gin, they're shipping 175,000 bales of cotton a year. Slavery, the number of slaves almost doubles in this amount of time as well, just because now they can produce as much as basically as they have land for, because the cotton gin is taking out all of the time labor out of it. Sectional differences, they view different many issues. The main one we're going to talk about right here is the tariff, tax on imports. The North wants a high tariff. Remember, they're making those finished products, so they want that high tariff because they want you to buy theirs. By putting a tax on a good coming in from England, you made it more expensive than the good being produced in New York. Therefore, you would buy the good from New York. The South wants a low tariff. Remember, they're not making any finished products, so they're having to buy those, so they want the lowest price. They don't care where it's from. They don't care if it's from Massachusetts or from Spain. They want what is the cheapest, just like us today. So there's one big difference. The last thing in today's page of notes is the American system. This is basically an idea of using the 3 different lands or parts of America to basically take care of ourselves and be subsistence and not need to buy things from outside of the United States. We would use the North to create our finished products. We would use the West with all the land now we own from Louisiana Purchase. We would use the West to produce all our farm goods, raise cattle, grain, corn, those type of things, and we would use the South for their raw materials, whether that was indigo, lumber, cotton, and that would make a cycle there to where basically everything that we needed as Americans would be produced in America. One of the first things they had to do under this American system was pass a high tariff to force the people to buy the American good. That was the only way to guarantee that it would be cheaper than goods coming from other countries. They resurrect the national bank. They have to have a system of internal improvements, roads, bridges, canals. All these goods don't mean anything if you can't ship them and move them to different parts of the country. So by bettering our roads, building bridges, the first canal is going to be built, the Erie Canal at this point in time. The railroad will be coming soon. But none of this is going to do any good if they can't ship it from one area to another. This would also help settle western lands because we need those farmers. Okay, highlight that the 2 men that promoted the American system were Henry Clay and John C. Calhoun. Transportation, the national road is going to begin at this point in time. This is the first, I guess, road large enough to be called a road and not a wagon trail. The Conestoga wagon, which this is a picture of one right here to your left, is the main method of travel at that point in time. It's a big enough wagon that you can haul majority of your belongings inside it and keep them in the dry. The Erie Canal, the first canal built here on your left now, basically to ship goods by ship from one area to another, which was faster than by wagon. And soon the railroad's going to be here, which will basically link the entire United States and allow markets to open up from North Carolina to California to each other.